Hi, I'm Tonia from Crisp Graphics, and I'm here to take you through a class today on how to brand your business. I'm super excited about this and really glad that you could join me. So just quickly an overview of what I'm going to cover today. So firstly, what is branding? Might be a really good place to start. A couple of really good reasons to invest in your branding. You're here already, so that's a good start. Hopefully you don't need too much convincing. Who is your target audience? Let's get that defined and clarified for you. Then let's also think about the personality of your business and who your business would be if it were a person, if it had its own persona. That can be really powerful and really fun. Brand mood boards. I'll show you some examples of some brand mood boards and how to create one and why it could be really helpful for you in your business. I'll talk about color schemes, how to create one, and also a little bit about color psychology. And then we can talk about fonts, how to choose some fonts for your business, what fonts your font choices say about your business, and how to choose some really good font pairs. And yeah, so feel free to grab some paper and a pen and get yourself comfy, and let's kick in. So whether you're starting out in business or you've been in business for a long time, you've got kind of the basics of a brand going, but maybe not getting the traction you need and struggling a little bit with consistency. Hopefully this class today can teach you a bit about getting your brand foundations established. So I'm starting really at the base level, which is a really good place for any business to start, whether they've been in business for a while or whether you're just starting out. So yeah, like I said, grab yourself some paper and a pen and we will kick in. So a little bit about me just quickly first. I'm Tonia Hill, as I said, and I've been a freelance graphic designer for about 15 years now. I absolutely love what I do. I'm really passionate about helping business owners to impress their customers and grow their businesses. And like I said, a great place to start with that is getting your brand foundation sorted. All right, so what is branding? So let me start by saying your brand is so much more than your logo. It's a common misconception that your brand is your logo. A logo is a very small part of your overall brand. So your brand is every point of communication that your business has with anyone and everything. So it's what you're posting on social media. It's your company uniforms. It's what your annual reports say to your investors. It's what one of your customers says to one of her friends about her experience with your company. It's everything. It's every point of contact. So whether you're a solopreneur or you're building a corporate empire, and whether you're a product or a service-based industry, the same is true. You either build or confuse relationships with every point of contact. And so that there is key for me. It's about relationships. So branding is relationships, and it's about creating a relationship with whoever it might be, suppliers, customers, staff, all of those people. But the relationship comes from your business. So I guess for me, thinking about what is branding, I think of branding as the personality, the personality of your business. So if your business would be a person, who would that person be? Because to be able to create relationships, you have to have some kind of personal elements to it. So some really good reasons to invest in your branding. Now, they say that you only have 3 things in this world that you can ever spend. They would be your time, your money, and your energy. So if you're going to invest one of those 3 things, or perhaps all of those three things into your brand, why would you do it? So I've got a few here that I'll rattle through. So first impressions last. Obviously, first impressions are really important. Would you trust a dentist? Say if you walked in and he had crooked and missing teeth, you'd think, oh my gosh, no, maybe this isn't the right person for me to visit the dentist with. So customers want to know that they're going to be looked after, and how you value yourself is a really good indication of how you're going to value your customers. So getting that first impression right, because obviously you only have one chance to make a first impression, is a really important. So knowing what makes you different is also really important. So even better than a good first impression is a unique one. So giving your potential customers a taste of who you are, why you're different, and why they should do business with you. It's a great way to start. A wise man builds his house upon the rocks. So just as painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, if it were to all come crashing down with the first autumn breeze, spending your time, your effort, and your budget on advertising without a solid foundation is a wasted exercise. So knowing your brand inside and out from the onset can help to clarify where you should focus your marketing efforts. Plus, it will greatly increase the chances of those efforts being successful and an ongoing asset for your business. So in short, a better brand means better marketing and obviously a better use of your money when it comes to marketing and advertising. Building a brand builds relationships. So a strong brand stands out in a densely crowded marketplace. People fall in love with brands. They trust them, they believe in their superiority. So as competition creates infinite choices, as there often are, looking for ways to connect emotionally with your customers, become irreplaceable, and create lifelong relationships can affect your success, regardless of whether you're a startup, a nonprofit, or a product. The fifth reason here to invest in your brand: more desire means you can price higher. And this is a huge one. So have you ever bought a product that you knew you could buy, a cheaper identical in different packaging? Say, for example, you're at the supermarket, you're looking at shampoos, and you might spend that extra money on the brand that you feel good about buying rather than the budget brand. So that's branding, that's marketing. And yeah, basically, the more desire that you create for that product, the higher the price that you can charge. So that's also the great thing about investing in your brand, is it is truly an investment. And with greater demand for your product or your service, you'll be able to bump up your pricing and reap the rewards for years to come. And number 6, this is my favorite reason for investing in your brand: create clarity. So if you've ever asked yourself what you should wear to a business meeting, what you should post on Facebook today or this week, what color you should make the headings in that document that you're struggling over creating, or how to get noticed and be taken seriously by your target market, you could definitely benefit from some clarity around your brand. So having your brand clearly identified actually makes life as a business owner easier. So those questions that you ask yourself on the daily can be answered before you even ask them. Imagine that. That would be awesome, right? So now that we've established what is branding and why we should invest our time and our money and our energy in it, let's get into some of the nitty-gritty, I guess. So one of the biggest mistakes that budding businesses make is trying to appeal to everyone. And you often hear it, I often hear it when you ask someone, who's your target market? Oh, my target market's anyone. Anyone can buy my product. Anyone can buy my service. Okay, sure. But if we think about this as a game of darts and you're aiming for the bullseye and the dartboard, you've got a much better chance of hitting the board if you aim towards the board, to put it bluntly. So narrowing down that target market is a huge, huge step in clarifying your brand and getting your brand foundation sorted. It's really helpful to know who you're speaking to when you speak. It will change the way that you speak. It will change the tone of your voice. It will, all sorts of things. So let's think about, and this is where your pen and paper will come in handy, and you can obviously just pause at any point if you need longer to think about the question and to write the answers down for yourself. But who's your target audience? So generally when I ask this question, people start with the obvious. It's sex, it's male and female, it's age, it's maybe geographical location. But that's, I find, not the most important thing when you're trying to define who your target audience is. Much more important than that is, what is their personality? What is important to them? What do they value? I guess starting by thinking, what is the desired action of your target audience? What is the thing that you want them to do? Are they going to buy your product or service? Maybe it's they're donating to your organization. Maybe you want them to volunteer for an event. Maybe you want them to advocate for you by spreading the word and educating others. So let's start by thinking, who is your target audience and what is the desired action of your target audience? What do you want them to do? And then let's think about what demographic groups are most likely to take the desired action. So figuring out not only who has a need for your product or service, but also who is most likely to take action. So let's consider the following factors. We talked about age and gender and location, their marital status, their family status, their income level, their education level, their occupation. Those things are reasonably obvious. But then let's also think about, how do they think? What is their personality type? What is their attitude? What do they value? What are their interests and hobbies? What's their lifestyle? How do they spend their weekend? Where do they go when they've got some spare cash and they want to go out for a good time? Where do they go to have fun? What do they do to have fun? What are their normal behaviors? What are their routines? What do they do before they get to work in the morning? Do they go to work in the morning? Then I guess, and I am rattling through this rather quickly, so do feel free to pause and have a think about these questions. Then I guess we move on to what needs, challenges, and frustrations that they have. So what is the problem that your product or service is going to help them to fix? So I guess thinking about, what problem does it solve? How does it make their life easier? How does it make their life better? And what motivates them? I'm assuming most of us who are watching here are selling a product or service rather than looking at volunteering and donations and that kind of thing. But what will motivate your ideal customer to pay for your product or service? That always comes from a problem that you can solve. So really thinking around, what problem is it that you're solving for them? What is the problem that they have, and how can you help? So defining the market is the tough part. So now that you know who you are targeting, you should find it much easier to figure out what marketing messages will resonate with them and which media channels will be most effective at reaching them. So this is where we get into the really fun stuff, which is about your business and creating a persona for that business. So like we talked about in the beginning, branding is all about relationships. It's all about personalities. That's how I see it. So if you've now defined who your target market is and what problem they have, you've also established that your business is the business that can solve that problem for them. So if your business was a person who literally walked into the room in front of your ideal customer, who would that person be? What would they look like? How do they dress? How do they speak? So I've got a bunch of questions here designed to help you think about who your business is if we apply a persona to it. And once we've done that, we can really start to figure out the stuff that you probably thought this was going to be more about, like the colors, the fonts, the imagery, all that kind of thing, the words, the tone, the language. That becomes so much clearer when you really identify, who is this person? Maybe try and get someone in your mind. Maybe it's someone, a celebrity, or someone that you know, or someone who really just embodies what your business is all about, your business's values, and yeah, that kind of thing. So I do have a few questions here that I will race through. So again, if your brand, your business was a person, who would this person be? So what's their age? Let's start with the easy ones. Their gender, their location, if that's relevant, their marital or family status, again, if that's relevant. What are they wearing? Let's think about that. When they walk through that door to solve the problem of your target customer, what are they wearing? How do they look? What colors do they have on? What sort of style? Are they hipster? Are they super modern, super chic? There's just so many different styles and personas that we can think about, and the more stereotypical you can get, the absolute better. So, and the more extreme we can take that. So there's no point sort of sitting on the fence here about anything. Let's make it really extreme and really exaggerated, so that you come away with a very, very unique and distinct personality to represent your business. So then carrying on from that, what's the haircut? Is it modern? Is it unkept? Is it coloured? Is it natural? What do they do, or where do they go for fun? So what would be the activity that your business enjoys when it's not making money? What is it interested in? What car would it drive? How would it communicate with people? Does it use social media? Does it use emails? Does it use text? Does it use good old-fashioned letters? Does it visit you at your home? What would your business's favourite food and drink be? Do they eat organic? Do they eat meat? Do they love their chocolate and their wine? They're a little bit indulgent. Do they hang out for a cocktail on a Friday afternoon? Do they prefer a green smoothie? So let's really start thinking, you know, who is this business if it was a person? What's their personality type? Are they an introvert, an extrovert, a leader, or a team player? How do they speak? Do they have an accent? Are they really colloquial? My computer's just switched off. It's okay. Do they use a lot of jargon? Do they use a lot of technical terms? Are they really witty? Are they funny? Are they educated? Are they professional? What are their core values? I have a massive list of core values that are really interesting. Maybe I'll just read a couple out because it might give you a few ideas. So abundance, accountability, adaptability, anticipation, aggressiveness, attentiveness, diligence, direction, discipline, discovery, dynamism, family, focus, freedom, heroism. There's just so many words you can use to describe the values of this person. And if you can, in fact, if I can find somehow I can maybe publish this list of values, it might help just to maybe go through and circle about 3 to 5 values that would be the most important to your business. Yeah, other questions. What phone do they have, if they have one? Are they stuck in the dark ages? Are they super modern? Are they that sort of thing? What style is their home or their office decorated? Would it be boho? Would it be shabby chic? Would it be minimalist? Would it be Scandi? Would it be retro? Where would they take their dream holiday? So in this one, when I've asked this question in workshops before, I've had some funny answers because the business owners tend to think, where would they go for their dream holiday? But that's not why I asked that question. The reason I asked that question is because it just really helps to get a visual of what the environment looks like that this business is comfortable in. So, I mean, if you think about the contrast between like Santorini and Greece, which is crisp and clean, and that's actually the place that my business would go on ideal holiday. And you think about the photos of that, they're all, you know, very crisp and clean sort of photos. Whereas if you think about, you know, like a Mexican roadside type holiday, you know, totally different, really grounded, really earthy. Yeah, so trying to think about not the place that you'd love to go on holiday, but what the photos, the images of those places look like. So if you were to Google search those places in image search, what that would look like and whether or not that ties in with that personality of your business. So again, what magazines would that business buy? What magazines would that person, if your business was a person, remembering, what would they read? What TV programs and movies do they watch and like? Which celebrity would they like to most meet? And is there any reason why for that? So there are a load of questions, and hopefully by this point you've really started to think about the personality of your business and how you can hone in on that. I thought I'd quickly give you a couple of examples too where this works really well. So the one that always springs to mind for me when I'm thinking about good branding is Hell Pizza. They have such a cool brand, and it's totally unrelated to pizza. I mean, there's so many companies who make pizza, and it's really not about the pizza. I mean, sure, having a good product is essential, but it's really, their business is built purely around their brand. So they've decided to give their business this persona, and it's not actually a person. There is no person with Hell Pizza, but you know, if there was a person, you know what they would look like. You know they would arrive in a hearse. You know that they have a very dark and twisted sense of humor, and they're all about, you know, purgatory and sinning and all this kind of thing. So yeah, they've really done well, in my opinion, and they do great jobs in their marketing, which are built upon, you know, they follow on from those brand foundations. So without those brand foundations, it becomes really hard to then think, well, how am I going to market? What am I going to say in an ad? What am I going to, you know, what witty thing am I going to come up with? When it all ties back to your brand, it just makes life a whole lot easier. So some other examples that I just thought of were Dr. Feelgood, the ice pops. So again, that's an ice block. They're all natural. So they've branded the company Dr. Feelgood. There's a strong persona with that. There's a person, that's a doctor. It's Dr. Feelgood. He makes ice blocks. So yeah, giving the business a persona. Pam's, you know exactly what Pam would look like if she walked into your kitchen. And Pam's is a really interesting one too, because they've got lots of different product ranges. I noticed now they've just launched Pam's Finest, which is black, and I'll come back to that when we talk colour psychology, because initially, or the original Pam's brand is red, and very friendly, very homely, and very warm, and red is actually the colour that makes you hungry. Being a food brand, obviously that's relevant. But they've got a new Pam's Finest, which is the top end products, and that's gone black, and black is the colour that represents, it's very distinguished. It's very high end, very top of the market. So we'll talk about more about that in colour psychology. Some other good examples: Sidekick Accounting. They've got sort of a persona with their business, so that's your accounting sidekick. What else did I write there? Oh, Black Dog. There's a graphic designer in the Hawke's Bay who I love called Black Dog Creative, and their tagline is "Your creative best friend." That's just awesome to me. That's, all of a sudden you know exactly what their business is about just by saying that tagline. Xero has beautiful accounting software, yes, and Meridian Energy. You know what they're about when we talk Meridian. They're all about that sustainable side of the energy business. So their persona for a service business is Jeremy Wells, Newsboy. He's in all their marketing and advertising now. He's the person who they imagine when they think, what persona should our business have? And UE Car Insurance is another one, really strong branding with that, very colloquial language. They know exactly who they are, exactly who they're targeting. And you know what to expect from them too as a consumer. You know how they're going to talk to you, how they're going to treat you before you even pick up the phone. So that you've already established a connection in terms of building a relationship with them. So that's what branding, like I said, comes back to. It's all about that personality and building relationships with your customers that are going to last a really, really long time. So you have to establish that trust. You have to establish that consistency. That all starts with just getting that brand foundation sorted right at the beginning. So now I'm going to walk you through some brand mood boards and some brand mood board examples and how to create your own brand mood board for your business. And this is really important. I find that when I go through this with people and have them create a brand mood board, it really helps to gain that clarity. That number 6 that I talked about, the reasons to invest in your brand. So that when you're sitting there, especially if you print this mood board out, pop it above your desk, then whenever you're sitting there thinking, what am I going to post on social media? I'm planning my social media posts. What pictures do I use? What sort of styling should I use for my products? Those sorts of things. You can just reference back in with your brand mood board and think, is this consistent? Does this fit in with the tone, the look, the feel of my brand? So I will try and just share my screen with you because I've got some examples here to show you. This one. Share the screen. So this is, I hope you can see this all right without me being in the corner there, but never mind. We'll just press on. So this is the mood board that I created for my business, Crisp Graphics. Like I said earlier, that Santorini look and feel was really important to me. The name is Crisp Graphics. I've always branded my business around freshness, crispness, cleanness. I love clean design. I love growth, and I love, you can see from my office, I love plants. I love house plants. That's sort of where I guess I tie my personal interest into my brand. And it ties in terms of, grow your brand, grow your business. So the words that I use around growth and that sort of thing tie into my business brand as well. So I use a lot of the blues and the greens. You can see on the top right hand corner there, I've also given myself a color scheme. So those are the colors that I use for anything and everything in my business. I will go shortly over how to choose a really good color scheme soon, starting with sort of a base color and a bit of color psychology. Here's another one that I can show you. Totally different, get a totally different feel about this business. You might even be able to guess what it's about. It is a food-based business. just from the imagery. So to create these mood boards, we answer all those questions that I went through before about who is the persona behind your business, or in front of your business as it should be. It's sort of the face of your business. And then once you've answered all those questions, which hopefully you have by now, I suggest going to some stock image sites. Unsplash.com is a really good site for cool images. And search those things. So if you've established that your business is bright and colourful and fresh and fun, then search those words. Search, colours. Search, pink this or whatever, yellow that. But it's the descriptive words like bright, colourful, fun. If you just search one of those words at Unsplash and then scroll the page, you'll find images that you think, yes, that resonates with my business. Just save them all in a folder. And then at some point, if you can, just sort of pop them all together like this, or even print them out separately and stick them all over your office wall, it will achieve the same thing. And when you start doing that, you'll start noticing too. Here's another one, another good example. Totally different, of course, but you'll start noticing, hopefully, that there is a bit of a color scheme coming out. So the values that were important to this business owner were obviously that it was a nurturing space. She's very holistic, very down to earth, that kind of thing. So things like autumn, like choosing a season, definitely autumn for this one. Searching, getting into the search engines. You can use Google image search too. I don't like to, because of course the images aren't copyrighted, but for the sake of, if you're going to print an image out and stick it on your wall above your desk, then that's absolutely fine. But if you, and also if you're wanting to print, oftentimes with Google image search, they're very low res. So I sort of tend to stick to the stock photography websites. Unsplash.com, like I said, is a really good one to use because it's free and you get really high quality images. And then if you want to put them together like this in a board and print it, you can do, and you've got all the quality there. And then once you have this board, like I said, having it above your desk so that you can refer to it on the daily is a really good idea. But also you can use that to communicate ideas with people. Say you need a new logo and you need to approach a graphic designer or a website. Showing them this board is a really good way to then communicate visually what it is that you want and what it is that you need from the design. Whether you're just getting a poster done or you're deciding to put an ad in a magazine, show the designer this board, and then immediately they'll understand the kind of look and feel that you're going for without having to use 5 million words. And designers are visual people, let me tell you. So if they can see what you mean rather than try and hear and decipher what you mean, it's really, really valuable. You can also use this for communicating your ideas with staff. For when you go, like as part of your business plan, when you're approaching people like investors or banks, that sort of thing, to get people on board. Like if you're just at a really foundation level, having something like this when you haven't got a logo yet, we haven't got a website yet, but you want to be able to communicate your ideas visually, can be really, really powerful. Plus, it also obviously then gives you the foundation to build that brand upon. So, like we already heard, that can be really, really valuable as well. And so for this one here, videographer, she really wanted to create a safe space for her clients to be in. So she wanted to communicate that they would be safe, they would be nurtured, they would be looked after, but also give it a technical sort of industrial feel as well. So you can see that colour scheme there on the right, sort of communicates both of those things. So let me stop sharing my screen and I can go back and talk about a little bit about colour psychology. Just give me one moment. Right, so colours are hugely important in branding, and they really can make or break the feel of your brand and the feelings that that brand or those like your collateral, your advertising collateral, your marketing collateral, that kind of thing communicates to your potential customer. So let me go through a couple of the basic colours. And obviously, when we talk colour psychology, you know, when you say red, for example, there's a million shades of red. There's so many different types of red. So we're talking in general here, and also keeping in mind that tone and shade of colours plays a huge part too. So in that example that I showed you with the very, very bright colour palette down the side, you could take that colour palette and tone it all down and it would give a really different feel. It would be so soft and, you know, almost maybe aimed towards children's brand or something like that. So yeah, there's loads of stuff you can do with colour. It's a huge subject. There is some basic psychology, however, behind colours. So let me rattle through a few of those for you, and maybe just give you a few ideas about the colours that you use in your brand. So red, let's start with red. Red is associated with the intensity of blood and fire. So some examples, we've got YouTube, we have got Red Bull, we've got McDonald's use a lot of red as well. Interestingly, just on a side note, McDonald's is another one of those brands who traditionally have been red and yellow, and with their premium range, the build it yourself burgers and the Angus and all that kind of thing, they market in black, and the McCafes. So yeah, I love black in terms of color psychology and branding, but by the same token, it's not going to work if everyone in the world decides to brand themselves black. So yes, red, active businesses, emotional, passionate. I don't resonate trust so much with that one, even though it's on my list. Love, intensity, and aggression. So often used for things like sale, like a big sale sign is red. It's bold, it's aggressive, it's it's really active. So it can inspire action, and like I said before too, it's also a color that is supposedly makes you hungry, makes you want to eat. So it stimulates your appetite. Blues. So blues are associated with the depth and stability of sea and sky. So a couple of good blue examples. We've got Facebook, we've got Ford, we do have Samsung. A lot of the banks, a few banks and financial institutions. Blue is actually the most popular color for logos. So there's a percentage, I don't know what it is, 60-70% of the world's logos are blue. And the reason behind that is because blue creates trust, builds trust. It's also a really good tip, like for a first business meeting with someone, if you wear blue. Really good tip from way back in the day, and one that I often follow. So comfort, faith, conservatism, understanding, clarity, confidence, calm, and trust. So trust is a massive one for blue. So if you're in a business where you really need to invoke trust or build trust with your customers or clients, blue is a huge one. And again, there's so many different types of blue, and you can play with that in so many different ways, depending on what other aspects are important to your business. Zero is one that springs to mind. It's blue as well. Obviously, it needs to be secure, stable, and trustworthy. Yellow. So yellow is associated with the energy and joy of sunshine. So yellow is a very optimistic color, full of hope. McDonald's, again, the one that uses yellow in their logo. Joy, alive, energetic, and fresh. Green. Green is associated with the harmony of nature. So it makes you feel calm, relaxed. It makes you feel trust, and it makes you feel peaceful and hopeful. The examples on the sheet I've got actually are not that great. They've got Starbucks and they've got Android. And with those two things, I don't immediately think of trust and calm, especially not Starbucks. I think that would wire me more than anything. But I guess it's the natural element of Starbucks. It's the fact that it's a natural product. It's coffee beans. And I guess creating that environment too, the space where you can be calm and relaxed inside their coffee houses, which is sort of a major draw card for people, I think, especially overseas. I'm not a coffee drinker myself, so I probably don't get it as much as some of you might. But yeah, sitting inside a Starbucks isn't something that I would normally do, but I imagine that is a place where you feel harmonious and you feel relaxed, and you can sit and you can work and you can interact, and you can drink your delicious coffee. So purple is associated with the luxury of royalty. I was just thinking of a really good example I saw the other day of a chair with a beautiful hand-drawn pattern over it. And it was an old chair that had been restored, and the fabric was purple with a yellow print on it. And I just thought it looks royal. It looks like a royal throne, like a royal chair. And then I realised too, the purple was probably what was making me feel that. Cadbury is another one who used purple. It's that, luxury, that decadence, that kind of royalty, that, luxurious kind of high-end product. We feel, yes, glamour, power, nostalgia, romance, and introspect when we see purple. Orange is associated with the happiness of sunshine as well, and the tropics, and it's also a very another good call to action color. So it's a color that stimulates activity and movement. So it is enthusiastic, it's creative, it's determined, it stimulates your mental activity. So Fanta is a good example there where they use orange. Yeah, I guess that's that whole tropical thing, sunshine and tropics and energy. Often used as well in calls to action. You see a lot of calls to action in websites that are orange or red. And again, it doesn't have to just be plain old bold red 101. It's, you know, just you can tone that to a different tone to fit in with your existing colour scheme, if that's what you need to do. So black, one of my favourites, like I said, black is associated with the formality and mystery of night. It is bold, it is serious, and it is luxurious. I see so many examples of black. You know, Farrow and Knott are the black supermarkets, they're high end. I believe the Mad Butcher has gone from red to black because he's trying, well, it's sold, it's different owner now, but, you know, just again, just trying to establish that as a high end chain. And like I said, McDonald's have their black version. Pans now have their black version, the finest range. And you do see that in a lot of supermarkets too, where they have sort of colours for the lower end products, and then their high end products will have black packaging. So yeah, very luxurious, very chic, can be very hipster. Yeah, don't write it off as a colour, but again, don't use it as your only colour. I think even if you are using black, you do need to have some kind of colour scheme to go with it, because you don't want everything to look like it's simply just black and white. That would just be super boring. Pink is associated with feminine traits. Obviously, it's a very feminine colour. Barbie brand is pink. It makes you feel love, sweet, warmth, sexuality, and nurtured. So yeah, pink. The one that, especially when I read sexuality on that list, the one that springs to my mind there is always peaches and cream. You see those huge billboards on the side of the motorway for their adult products, and it's pink. You know, even though it's probably guys that they're targeting too, it's definitely a pink branded colour. So brown is the last one on my list. Brown is associated with the nurturing trait of Mother Earth, and it helps you feel reliability, support, and dependability as well. I can't think of a lot of brown examples for branding. There is a couple on my list here. One is UPS. This is obviously American, so that is the courier company in the States. And M&M's, again, I mean, I think M&M's probably use brown because it's the colour of chocolate. I don't think they were really going for reliability, support, and dependability, but there you have it. So some really good tools, now that I've bombarded you with all of that information about colour, some really good tools to use that I wanted to share with you. One is good old Pinterest. If you have an idea, after I read you that list of colours, you know, which colour should maybe be your most prominent, the most prominent colour in your brand, getting into Pinterest and just Googling colour schemes, colour palettes with that colour, can be a really good way. Obviously, if you've already done your brand mood board and you've gone and searched for images that resonate and sit well with your brand, and with that persona that we talked about, you may find that there's a bit of a colour scheme coming through from that collection of images. So that's a really good way too. But oftentimes when you pick colours and you say, well, here's, you know, this colour from that image and that colour from that image, they kind of don't quite sit together so well. So there's a really cool resource that I wanted to share, aside from Pinterest. So Pinterest is great. You can find some really cool colour schemes on there. And if I share my screen with you again, this one by Adobe. Let me just figure out how to get this on here first. Share screen. And I have opened it up here. Right, so this website here is called color.adobe.com. So Adobe Color. It's a really cool resource for finding color schemes. So basically the color that's in here already is this one here with the white arrow on the left, the blue. So if you've already established that that's like one of your core colors for your brand, you can pop the code in there. So you pop in either the RGB makeup of the color or the hex color. That might seem like something you need help with. And if so, just yell out and I'll see what I can do to help you. But yeah, basically there's codes for different colors. So if you pop that in there, these are the screen codes. And then the color scheme, a suggested color scheme, comes up next to it. Now this is where it gets cool. We can also use this button here, change color harmony. So if we do pull that drop down, you can see that this color scheme here is called an analogous color scheme. You can see in the color wheel there that all of those colors are in a very similar spot on the color wheel. And obviously when the color wheel, when the dots on the color wheel then move in towards the center, they become whiter. When they move out towards the outside, they become brighter. So there's like just millions of colors within this that you can see, which is really, really fun. Well, it is for me anyway. And obviously down here, once you've found a color scheme that you like, you can copy those color codes and write them down somewhere, have them as part of your brand guidelines, and those become the colors that you use in all the places that you can. Now, this is, again, where I was going to show you where it gets really cool. You can change the color scheme. Again, I've got this blue on the left here selected as my my standard color, my set color. So if I change this to a monochromatic color scheme, it's going to give me a different color scheme based on a different formula within that wheel. And it's going to use this color here as the base. So there's another cool color scheme there that you could use. It could go with your brand. You can have a triad color scheme. You can see that picks colors then from 3 points around the wheel. So yeah, it's a really good way to get some ideas about some colors that might really suit or go with your brand, especially if you've got one color in your logo and you kind of go, well, I'm sick of using blue on everything. How can you then incorporate some more colors? Like say, for example, in this complementary color scheme where you can see that the two colors are coming from the opposite sides of the color wheels. You could use, these colors as your buttons or backgrounds or whatever in your website, or, if you're creating a document and you need sort of 2 to 3 colors that you can pop into that rather than just your one logo color. This is a really good way to find them. Compound color scheme and shades of the same color. So that's, again, another really nice way to see, some different shades of that color that could work really, really nicely together in all of your documents. So I am going to move on to fonts and what your font choices say about your business. I'm just going to figure out how I stop sharing my screen for a second and put you on pause so that I can gather my thoughts. And I'll be back in 1 second to talk about fonts. Right, so let's continue on about fonts. So just as in color psychology, your font choices can say a lot about your brand, and font choices can actually invoke certain feelings as well, and help to relay a message visually. I guess it's not so much about what we're saying with the type, but what the type says, beyond the text. So it's the subtext, it's the psychology of fonts. So there are 4 main font choices or font types that I'm going to share with you. And if I just share the screen again quickly so that you can have some examples. So you can see here that we've got 4 different kinds of fonts. I mean, there are others, and there are lots. It's like genres of anything. You can analyze it till the cows come home. But I've gone with the 4 basics here. So we have serif fonts, and serif fonts generally invoke feelings of traditionality, reliability, timelessness, and respect. Your sans serif fonts communicate stability. They're clean, they're modern, they're objective, and they're chic. And I'm just going to interrupt myself here. Obviously, we've established the personality of your business, the persona of your brand. So when choosing font choices to go with your brand, you'll want to choose fonts that have the same or convey the same values as what we decided, or what you decided your brand values were. So your script fonts there can communicate elegance, affection, and creativity. And your display fonts, and display just is basically a term for saying they could be anything. There's so many different varied fonts. And in fact, the same is true with all of them. You can have totally different looking serif fonts, sans serif fonts, and script fonts as well. But display fonts in particular are really varied. They can be friendly, they can be unique. They are generally very unique. They can be expressive, and they could be amusing as well. So that is the 4 basic types of fonts that you could choose. So again, go ahead and choose a font family that or font type that that resonates well with and helps you continues to build on those brand messagings that we've established there. Now, the next part of this is something that I get asked all the time, is how do I choose a good font pair? So people are often asking how, and I can just flick that one up, how they pair fonts really well. So oftentimes they're starting from a place of they've got one font that perhaps is their logo font or a font that they use all the time, and has, you know, really does do its best to communicate those brand messages. So then to pair it with something else, because obviously on a page, you know, if you're typing a document or a poster or something or a flyer, you're going to need more than one kind of font. And my recommendation would be to probably go for no more than 3 types of fonts, 3 different fonts. But so in terms of creating something that's visually appealing, and again, it might also be like your logo and your tagline, they're often 2 different fonts. So that's a good way to think about, a good place to think about the examples of where we would use font pairing. So I guess there are 3 things that we can use to describe, 3 ways we can use to describe fonts. So we've got the weight, the size, and the style. So I just told you the styles, the 4 styles: the script, the sans serif, the serif, and the display fonts. So I guess rule number 1 is around style and creating balance visually. So the rule of thumb would be not to pair a font with another font of the same style. So if you've already got a serif font as your base font, you're not generally going to pair that with another serif font. I might just take that off for a moment. Likewise, so if you have a sans serif font as your base font, you're not going to then pair that probably with another sans serif font. Then you also have the weight. So the weight of the font relates to the heaviness of the stroke. So if you have a really thick stroked font, you're probably not going to pair it with another very heavy font. So thick with thin, that type of thing. It's all about creating that balance. You don't want them to be too much the same. They need to be quite different, so that they pair well together. And number 3 would be the size. So if you have large text on a page, you are then going to pair with something that's a lot smaller. So, and again, you want the balance to be quite different. So you're not going to pair a 14-point font with a 12-point font. You're probably going to more likely to pair a 24-point font with a 12-point font, just to get that balance, and that so that it actually is visually different. So I have those examples there that I'll flip back to. Just share that. Where you can see there that in the top example, you've got a nice light font, and it's also larger in point size, with a font that is smaller and heavier, and also the top font is a sans serif, and the one under it, LAO regular, is a serif font. So that's balanced in all 3 ways. The next one down is obviously the same font, but you've got a bold version and a larger text, and paired with a thin version and a smaller point size. And then in the bottom example, you've got a lovely sort of script / display font, which is very heavy, and again, a larger point size with a nice, very plain, all caps, sans serif font that's a very lightweight. So you can see that in those examples, they work because they're balanced. They're quite different to each other, but but still sit nicely together on the page. So that is the end of our class today. I really hope that that's been helpful for you to try and nut out the foundations of your brand and give you a really good starting point, something to build upon. I believe that I'm going to be around to answer some questions after this, so feel free to hit me up if you have any. And otherwise, I really hope that you've enjoyed this, and I really hope that it's helped to add some value to your brand and to your business. I'm Tonia from Crisp Graphics, so talk to you again soon.